Hi, I'm Byron, and I've been posting a video nearly every week going through the alphabet. Out of all of them, I was the most anxious to post my video for B. In the video, I model a lot of outfits exploring what it means to cross-dress. And in that video, my belly button showed. But what was less obvious was that I wasn't born with that belly button. One push. One push is all it took, and I was born into this world. This cold, bright, but wonderful world. I was small and had no control over my bladder. I actually peed on one of the nurses. At my first doctor's appointment, I was even smaller, and I was labeled failure to thrive. Do you even know what failure to thrive means? It means disability status. It means problems. Some known, some not. But I was here. I was living. I was Byron. But it wouldn't be long until they made their presence known. My mom was graduating with her master's, and I was going to be named at a joint celebration for the both of us. But I was only 4 months old and couldn't be on stage with her, so they resorted to Grandma feeding me formula. It was the first time, and this usually wouldn't be a problem, but what they didn't know was that I was allergic, and it was too late. I had gone through so many outfits that they had to hold me upside down and naked so that I could survive long enough to last through my naming blessing. 2 months later, I was still very sick and on a nebulizer. They didn't know what was wrong. They took me on vacation anyway, and I met my namesake. He showed me off to everyone. He was so happy. He was the last picture in my baby book. And the reason why was really sick, though. And I mean really, really sick. Sick enough to where my parents developed a reflex to catch my throw up to minimize the mess. They still didn't know that I was allergic to the baby formula. I didn't like eating and would throw up the little I did eat. The doctors had to figure out what was wrong, and I wouldn't tell them because I was a baby. After 2 years of tests and still no answers, the doctor suggested that I get a feeding tube because I was just not eating. My mom had a tough choice. There was the NG tube, or nasogastric tube, which goes from the nose to stomach. This type is for temporary use, but not as safe for long-term usage. And the G-tube, or gastrostomy tube, which is just a direct hole to the stomach. The doctors thought I could need it for maybe up to 1 year. My mom had to decide at the hospital if she thought a feeding tube would be the quick or a long fix. She guessed that it would be a long fix. My second belly button. But no one could have guessed just how long of a fix it would actually end up being. But I was no longer malnourished. I finally had energy to spend. I could run before I mastered walking because I kept getting sick every time I learned to walk and subsequently forgot. And I really liked to jump once I figured it out. I actually spent an entire day trying to figure out how to get both feet off of the ground at the exact same time. No one could stop me. No food could stop me. My brain shuts down whenever I don't get enough to eat. I would become so bad that my parents had to pin me to the ground so that they could get me fed with my special nutrient and calorie-rich drink. They called it liquid gold because you could see me calm down once the drink went into my stomach. And I was a happy and energetic kid again. I took gymnastics before long. I loved being able to move my body, doing things like hang and swing on bars, jump into this foam pit, headstands, assisted handstands, back rolls on wedges, and I got stuck on the regular back rolls. My tube just wouldn't let me fold enough to shift my weight back. It was a requirement to pass to a higher level. I could do everything else, but if you know gymnastics, you know that they're nothing but strict and perfectionistic. My mom took me out of gymnastics because it just wouldn't pass me. The only reason I couldn't do it was because of my tube. My first real taste of discrimination based on my disability. Now, for the most part, as I was growing up, I could be like a normal kid, since it wasn't obvious that I had a disability. After all, I would climb on top of the fridge and be able to get down safely from a pretty young age. I was just a normal 5-year-old in the body the size of a 2-year-old. Nothing was out of reach, yet I couldn't climb the ranks of gymnastics, and would come back in the form of gym class. By this time, I had gotten used to the tube, being small and cute. By middle school, the class was doing different physical benchmark tests like flexibility, stamina, push-ups, sit-ups, and I was right there with them. I was average in most things, but one of the tests was to do 100 jump rope jumps. As I specified earlier, I loved to jump. I had beaten everyone in the class and was the last one jumping. But after all the adrenaline went down, I noticed that the skin around my tube was itching and even hurting. When I went to look at it, I found that my shirt was stained with blood. The doctor theorized that when I was doing the sit-ups, the tube was rubbing the inside of my stomach, which created a scab over time. And when I did any sort of jumping, the scab got scraped off, causing me to bleed. Would this mean the end of jumping? Of course not, and even if it did, I would tolerate the bleeding every once in a while. I just got out of doing the sit-up benchmark. The actual problem came in steps. In middle school, my tube would start to leak a little bit, and by high school, when I got full, my tube would leak a lot. It would come to the point to where I would stop eating once I thought I was about to leak. I lost valuable calories because I just wouldn't eat more, or my shirt would get soaked. This was because the hole for the tube was getting bigger than the actual tube, so there wasn't much of a seal. Almost all of my shirts had stains on the inside of them because of this, and it would be the turning point about 15 years later. I thought it was finally about time to get rid of the tube. It was a hard decision. Having the tube kind of became a part of who I was. No, I can't do sit-ups or I'll start to bleed. No, I like the food, but I can't have more or I'll leak. No, I won't go down the slide belly first. I'm afraid the tube will get pulled out. Well, it wasn't all bad, or I would have gotten it out with no second thought. Yeah, I basically had no rules at the dinner table because I just needed any positive experience while eating. Yeah, I get to have my own pizza because I'm allergic to the cheese on yours. Yeah, I get extra sleep since I wake up full because my dad tube feeds me while I'm waking up. Turns out, tube feeding is just so much easier than actually spending energy eating with your mouth. Why would I ever get rid of that? Because all my friends are doing stuff that I can't because there's a tube sticking out of my stomach. So I did. I finally got rid of the tube the day before my 17th birthday. A sign that I am ready to grow up, that I can be more independent than I've ever been, do what I've never been able to, be what I want to be. I will always have this second belly button to show all that I've gone through to get to this point, the good and the bad. Now, I have no restraints, nothing to hold me back except for my anxiety. And I know that as I've gotten through my invisible struggles, you can too. We all can do amazing things, and just see what life will bring us. Don't let people tell you that something doesn't exist because it isn't immediately apparent. I could just show them, but that may not be as easy for you to just do. However, there is something that you can actually do right now. And that is to remember. You're the only person who ever can be you.